The junior senator from Florida.
Madam President, Americans are worried about inflation. New polling shows that 87% of Americans are concerned about the rising cost of household items like diapers, gas, and groceries. That's up from 77% just last month. And they have good reason to feel that way. Right now, reports show that a third of American households making less than $50,000 in annual income are buying less because of increasing prices. And more than 1/4 of all households report that rising prices on goods are causing them to purchase less. Just this month, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that over the last 12 months, food prices are up and gas prices have risen 23%. That means since Biden was elected, gas prices have increased about 70 cents per gallon across the nation. Year over year, consumer prices increased 2.6% in March. That's up from an annual 1.7% increase in February. This is all in addition to statements from some of America's largest corporations, like Procter & Gamble and Kimberly-Clark, which recently announced that they are increasing prices on a number of their products. That includes essential household goods like toilet paper and diapers. The evidence of inflation is right in front of us. Just look at these numbers, which show the percentage change in average unit prices versus last year. Groceries up 2.6%, household goods up 5.2%, baby care up 7%, general merchandise up 7.1%. Wages never go up this fast. So who's it hurt? The poorest and those on fixed income. Businesses are expecting prices increases to continue. According to data from FactSet, 47 S&P companies have mentioned inflation on their earnings calls for Q1 2021. That is more than during any quarter in the last 10 years. On their most recent earnings call, Procter & Gamble Chief Financial Officer Andre Schulten said, "The commodity cost challenge we face this year will obviously be larger next fiscal year." And who gets hurt the most when their inflation rises? Not the rich. It's working families, especially those on low and fixed incomes. I grew up poor and watched my parents struggle to put food on the table. I know just how much a slight rise in prices can hurt a family because I saw it growing up. And that is what is happening right now across our nation. We know that the Biden administration is worried about this. They know that rising costs caused by their massive spending are bad for Americans, but they won't say it. While they are reportedly worrying in private about the effects of their spending plans, they've had a different message in public. On April 13th, the New York Times reported that officials and aides at the White House and the Department of Treasury have been holding private meetings for months to discuss inflation and conducted in-depth internal analysis for senior officials and President Biden. The article goes on to say, quote, "Mr. Biden's aides are sufficiently worried about the risk of spending fueling inflation that they shaped his infrastructure proposal, which is yet to be taken up by Congress, to fund out $2.3 trillion over 8 years, which is slower than traditional stimulus." Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that this article be placed in the record.
Without objection.
Madam President, the content and conclusions of these meetings and working groups have not been disclosed or made available to the public. While privately worrying about the same issue I've been sounding the alarm on for months, the Biden administration continues to mislead the American public and ignore the threat of inflation. Over the last 2 months, I've asked the National Economic Council about their plans to fight inflation and protect American families. I've written to Federal Reserve members asking what can be done to help families who are seeing skyrocketing gas prices and increasing mortgage rates. I've called on President Biden and Federal Reserve Chair Powell to lay out their clear plan to address inflation and rising prices that threaten American families. I've yet to get a straightforward or acceptable response. I've yet to hear them acknowledge this very real threat or propose a solution to protect families. So today, Senator Braun and I are making a simple request that the Biden administration share with the Senate all of its notes, memos, and reports regarding their discussions and plans to mitigate and prevent growing inflation. Inflation is a very real threat to the well-being of already struggling families, and the last thing American families need is to be misled by this administration. Right now, Democrats in Washington are living in a fantasy land where debt doesn't matter, spending has no consequences, and inflation is impossible. But the reality is that inflation does have consequences, It is the duty of everyone here, especially the President of the United States, to be open and transparent with the American people about what's happening with inflation. Madam President, there is no reason the Biden administration should be hiding this information. Americans deserve to know the consequences of massive government spending, and they deserve leadership that will show some fiscal responsibility when it comes to their taxpayer dollars. I look forward to all my colleagues supporting this effort to increase transparency. Madam President, as if in the legislative session, I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the consideration of Senate Resolution 185, submitted earlier today. I ask unanimous consent the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, that the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Is there objection?
Madam President,